So I'm just going to go ahead and put this back in. So again, good morning, everyone. I do want to thank everyone for taking the time to join today's Haystack Gold training segment. My name is Tim Dulick. I'll be your instructor. Today is going to be more of an advanced search methods through the different search variations in Haystack Gold. Yesterday, course 1 was all about the introduction to the data itself, how to gain access into it, how to gain access, how to understand the data, how frequently it's updated, where it's sourced from. Today is going to be all about advanced searching mechanics through various advanced search methods. Now that you understand the data, how can you search for it so you can find more targeted and specific materials specific to your needs? And then tomorrow's segment is all going to be about extraction methods. Now that we understand what the data is and how to search for it, how can we extract this information from Haystack into a file format of our choosing? And as I mentioned, a quick overview of our agenda today, we're going to be doing different types of searches, alternate search capabilities using, multiple field searches, i.e. combination searches, utilizing wildcards, talking about our similar part number searching. Technical characteristics, we have 2 different characteristic searches. We have a drill down and a free form. I do have examples of both. We also have our super search capability where, again, I showed a couple of examples of that yesterday, where it simultaneously searches all databases at once utilizing either a part number or a NIN number. When we're talking about Haystack, you do have the ability to locating legacy items. I know it can be a challenge sometimes, but Haystack does contain the largest repository of historical data in the industry, dating all the way back to the 40s. You do have the ability to search based on other variables when of a part if you don't have a specific stock number or part number. When you are searching for it, you find the part you're looking for. We do give multiple supply chain resources, Crestwood Technology Group, ILS, ISO Group, Supplier Inventory, DLA, so you can get price comparisons and analysis. And you're searching through all this to various databases worldwide, primarily US, UK, Canadian databases, and other resources. Haystack is considered the industry-leading logistics and supply chain management tool, where we leverage advanced technology to the largest collection of government and commercial data in the industry itself. All of our data is based on a stock number, also known as an NSN, a national or NATO stock number, which is comprised of a 13-digit code broken up into 3 segments. You have your federal supply class code, country code of origin, and our unique number. With that, we'll go ahead and jump right into the live demonstration. Again, what I have done is logged into our My Trainer account. This is also known as your ERC account. So don't be alarmed if mine looks a little bit different than yours. Again, this is my trainer account, just gives me full reign access to all of the tools and functionalities that Accurus has to offer. We're going to go ahead and select Haystack Gold. And we can see here with Haystack Gold, we are brought into the FLIS search. Now, one thing I want to start off with is let's do a quick recap of what we covered yesterday in the FLIS summary. When you are researching your parts information, you're ultimately going to end up in what's called the FLIS cross summary reporting page. So if I use a particular NIN, I have a NIN or a part number, and I find the part I'm looking for, I'm ultimately going to be brought into this window here, where the majority of all 70 different data sets that Haystack has availability to are going to be in one easy window, so it's easily cross-referenced. And anytime you see a little hyperlink, i.e. blue item, it allows you to basically pick and pull specific information, technical characteristics, weapon systems data, higher assembly lists, contracting information, or through one of our various suppliers. I am going to return back to the home page because we're going to do more advanced searches today. Let's talk about multiple part number searches. Let's say that I actually don't have a NIN, but I have a part number. Well, let's use this part number LM339N as an example, and we're going to run that search. Well, what we have here is 15 different parts. It's not uncommon when you are dealing with a particular part number to be made by multiple manufacturers. So when you see this part, you're basically seeing 15 different parts as a result of LM339N. Think of this as an exact part number search. In the search results window, when you're looking at this, think of this as a compressed FLIS summary view. It's giving you some pertinent information right up at the beginning. You get your federal supply class code, you actually get the NIN or the national stock, the stock number. If you're to select on this, this brings you into the FLIS cross summary reporting page for that particular part. I'm going to go back here to the upper right hand corner and select back to results, which will bring us back. We have the item standardization code. Again, as I mentioned yesterday, a lot of times when you're dealing with specific codings or identifiers, it's usually a single digit. If you don't know what this represents, you can hover over it, and it gives you a breakdown of that code. You can also go up to the very top anytime a code is represented. If you want to know what all valid codes are in a brief description, select on that code header and you get a list of all valid codes in a brief description. Go ahead and go back to results. You get some shortcut items letting you know what is and isn't available. P for procurement history, T for technical characteristics, G for government solicitations, A for government awards, Q for qualified products database, and S for engineering workbench, is essentially showcasing you. I am noticing that my little interesting. Let me do something really quickly. I just noticed something. There is one little identifier, so I'm just going to do this very quickly. There should be a third option, excuse me, I believe a seventh option is a little microchip. It's one of our cross connection functionalities. Oops, let me go here. Sorry, folks. Sometimes the caching of the database remembers a previous user. So I'm thinking I'm still logged in under QED's system. Let me try this one more time. That search, let's see if it comes up. Yes, there it is. That's exactly what happened. So let me go ahead and drag this over. Perfect. Now, notice how this one has a little microchip option. This is an interoperability function, not too dissimilar from the S for the standard. Both of these do communications with our other Accurus platforms. The S is representation that there is a standard affiliated with this part in Engineering Workbench, which I showcased yesterday. It's immediate direct connection to pull up that standard. This is little microchip option is a reference to our other platform for parts intelligence. This is a reference that this part is an electronic component. It's electronic in nature, and there is relative information in parts intelligence. Now, you do need to have secondary level subscriptions for this to be active. You have to be subscribed to either Engineering Workbench and or Parts Intelligence for these to display. But as you can see, I do a one-click option. You can see here, pulls up part details, any and all documentation, including data sheets, application information, any and all alert notifications. Now, these alerts can include product status changes, change notifications, or even reported failures or counterfeits. All environmental materials, life cycle details, has this part transferred from company A to company B, details on the manufacturer itself, and then, of course, everyone's favorite, alternatives. Is if there's an issue with the primary part, you can find parts that are considered alternative in nature. Then you have the item name, you have the part number, then you have what I like to call your obsolescence indicators. These are very important to understand. We talked about this heavily in yesterday's class. I'll bring it up today. You have your reference number category code, reference number variation code. When you are seeing these, the numbers that you're looking for is a reference number category code of 3 and a reference number variation code of 2. I put that in the Teams chat so everyone should be available, but you see that the RNCC-VC codes, when you get a 3-2 combination, 9 times out of 10, you can see right here, it means it is active, it is supported, and is currently being distributed by at least one supplier. You also get these obsolescence indicators down here on the bottom left. Always remember that, well, not all parts will have obsolescence indicators. If they do present, always remember green is good, diamond is dead, and the red square does not necessarily mean active and supported nor dead, but it has been flagged by the DLA as no longer being supported. If you'd like to know why the DLA is no longer supporting that, you can go here to your upper right-hand corner under your feedback menu, go to report issues with this NSN, and what this does is we'll actually give you the DLA's Customer Interaction Center, their CIC, which you can get in touch with them via an 877 number, a DSN, a secondary number, as well as an email address. Then you get the cage code for this current vendor. If you wanted to pull up their profile information, a one-click option will pull up their vendor profile information right here within this specific data set. You also get the name. Then, of course, you get the latest MLC price, also known as your management list consolidated price. When you see this price, I want you to think as of a median average of all available information that we have within Haystack, all contracts, all quotes, all solicitations, all awards. So when you see this, this is a median average of all of that. Now, what we did, let's go back to search. When you do a part number search here, think of this as an exact part number search. You can make adjustments to that by putting in items like wildcards. Like, let's say if you want to say part number contains, well, you can make different variations to the part number referencing. For example, let's say if I want to do a part number starts with, I want to see all parts that start with an LM339. Well, if I replace that N with a wildcard, which you can use an asterisk or a percent sign to be representation of basically saying I want to see any and all parts that start with an LM339 and show all the different variations after that, you will see that it makes a significant jump from 15 different parts up to, whoops, it didn't run the search. It went from 15 different parts to 55 different parts. You have the exact same mirror image looking at everything, but the only difference is, if you look at the part number, these are the different variations. So you're seeing LM339N, D, D, DP, J, A, AN, so on and so forth. So you're getting those different variations when you are researching this information. You can put wildcards anywhere within the search results. You're not limited to just one location. So if I go back to search, which I selected here in the upper right-hand corner, let's say that I wanted to see all parts with an LM prefix and an N suffix. I can easily do that. So we replace the 339 with a wildcard and we run that search. You'll see that we've once again jumped up to 365 different parts. If we look closely, look at the part number, we have several different variations. We have an LM prefix and an N suffix, but it shows all the different variations in between. Let's go back to search. Common question that I get is, can I put in multiple wildcards? Yes, yes you can. Let's say that I want to see all parts with the 339 combination. How do we do that? We do wildcard, 339 wildcard, and we run that search. And you'll see here that this is taking quite a while, but we're seeing any and all combination with a 339. We have 63,000 different parts. Look at the part number column. You see all the varying different degrees of combination 339. Let's go ahead and do a quick reset down here at the bottom. Reset is your friend. It's designed to clear out all the fields at once. And let's talk about those similar search functionalities. Now, what does this do? Well, we know the wildcard is meant to pull up any varying degrees of parts. What the similar is designed to do is find similar characterization. So this basically takes a little bit of liberties and finds similar attributes and identifiers affiliated with your data. For example, if I put in a part number, let's say if I have a part number and we do 400531, and I run a quick search. So what this is doing is searching the FLIS database for this part. Now there's a lot going on here. I want to break down these errors that we're seeing. First and foremost, notice how you see this phrase, multiple database search results. When you see this phrase, it means SuperSearch has been enacted. Why did SuperSearch get enacted? Well, that's because the part was not found in the US FLIS. This part number was not in the FLIS database. So what does this mean? Well, when this happens, when you're searching based on a NIN or a part number and it doesn't exist in the database, what happens is Haystack will then be like, all right, let's kick in SuperSearch and let's search all relevant databases and see if it exists. So if we look over here, however, the listed results below are part of the SuperSearch, so it's showcasing additional databases. But then we get this second one, no records found. That means that searching all databases, this part was not found in any database. So in a situation like that happens, what do? Does that mean we're sunk? No. What we can do now is we can go back to search and we can check that similar search function. And then you're basically telling Haystack, okay, take a little bit of liberties with my identifier, see if you can find anything in any other database. So we go ahead and rerun that search. And you can see Haystack actually did find 7 parts with similar characterizations. If we look at the part number, but Haystack said, oh, did you mean 400531? So this is basically Haystack saying, oh yeah, we replaced the O's with the zeros. Is this what you're looking for? So this is a great tool for you to utilize if you're coming across, a dead end. Maybe there's wrong characterization or utilization being placed. Haystack could take a little bit of liberties and find similar attributes. Let's go down to the bottom and do a quick reset. And let's do another thing with the similar search on an item name. Now, the item name search here, basically, if you're looking for a type of part. So again, if you're looking for a nut, a bolt, a screw, specific metals, identifier, whatever, you put that in there. So let's say for this one, for an item, I'm looking for a zipper. It'd be great if I knew how to spell zipper. First thing you're going to notice is when you're doing this, it's going to give you a list of all the types of zippers. Zipper cord, zipper bag, zipper fastener, zipper lanyard, what have you. Do I need to select any one of these? Nah. I mean, if I am looking something for like a zipper lanyard, yeah, you can select on it. It'll narrow it down even further. But if I just want to see anything and everything zipper, we just go ahead and ignore and we run the search. And you can see here that we have 77 different results for zipper. Look at the item name, zipper lacing, zipper access, side or half zipper, aileron, zipper half, so on and so forth. Now you might look at this and be like, all right, wait a minute. Haystack has access to about 300 million parts. You're telling me there's only about 80 different zippers? That doesn't sound right. Well, let's go back to search here in the upper right-hand corner. Let's activate that similar search function here and rerun the search. And what this does is it basically looks at the item name and the federal supply class code affiliated with that and finds all additional nomenclature that a zipper might be affiliated with. And you can see that we went from 77 different parts to almost 1,600. So in a situation like this, when this happens, you will see that Under the item name, we have several different other identifiers. A zipper is also known as a fastener, a slide, or an interlocking part. So that's how it plays that little bit of word association. Let's go back to search. Let's do a quick reset. Then we have our cage codes. Now, we talked about cage codes yesterday. A cage code is a commercial and government entity code. In short, any company, any vendor, any manufacturer, any contractor that works with the government on even the slightest level is issued one of these cage codes. We know a cage code is typically a 5-digit alpha and or numeric valued number. Now, what if I don't know the cage code? How do I find that out? Like if I were to type in, say, like a company name like Boeing here, will this work? No, because it's not a valid cage code. While you could use the vendor name search, if I go back to search and supply Boeing in here, that will pull up any part affiliated under the name of Boeing. But if I don't want to do that, if I want to look up specific cage codes, how do I find the cage code for Boeing? You do what's called a keyword search. Anytime that a code is needed, you're going to see a little hyperlink here on the left. You can do what's called a keyword search. You basically put in your keyword to find the affiliated code to go with it. So let's do that. I select on that cage keyword. This is where I could put in my actual keyword for what I'm looking for. In this case, I'll put in Boeing because that's the name. And I run a quick search. And you can see Boeing has 129 different cage codes. Now you might look at this with a raised eyebrow and be like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Why does Boeing have 129? Why would they have so many cage codes? Um, it's actually quite common. Companies have the ability to diversify their holdings and their identifiers however they want with the government. So it's not quite. But some of the most common reasons why they would do this, different locations, different projects, different money, different contracts, different classifications. Honestly, there are a couple dozen reasons as to why. But like I said, they can diversify their holdings with the government however they see fit. Now, why is this important? Well, let's go back to search. Let's do a quick reset. Let's say I have a cage code and I want to see all parts affiliated with this cage code. Okay. If I put in 08903 as a cage code and rerun that search, let's say I'm not familiar with this at all, but I want to see anything affiliated with it, we can see, okay, 08903 belongs to the Boeing company. If I want to pull up their vendor profile details, you select on that little hyperlink and you can see it's the Boeing company. It's their division headquarters in Arlington, Virginia. And then you get the contact details, their additional details, so on and so forth. One thing struck me as odd. Let's go back to results. Okay, this is kind of a red flag. You're telling me Boeing, one of the largest multinational aviation companies in the world, only has 2,200 different parts? You and I both know that's not right. So what do? Well, we go back to search. We're going to check that similar search function. And what this does is basically looks at any and all affiliated cage codes with this one and adds it to the search. That way you're getting a more comprehensive parts list based on this one cage code and any affiliations to go with it. So this one's going to take definitely another minute because what we're doing is you can see here, we're going to get different level variants of Boeing. And you can see we went from 2,200 parts to almost 500,000 different parts. We look at the company details, it's still the Boeing company, but that 08903, we don't actually see it. We're seeing different variations. So how does it make the connection? Well, let's go here, 76301. This is still the Boeing company. It's their defense division in St. Louis, Missouri. Gives me the same website. Here's their cage code. Associated cage code, the affiliation. That's how it made that connection. So it's not uncommon for a company not to have one cage code, but multiple cage codes and multiple affiliations. So if you're trying to get a comprehensive parts list from a particular company, that similar search function for the cage code will be beneficial for you. Let me stop and pause here for a minute. Are there any questions on what we've covered so far? General navigation of the search results field. Ooh, Stephen, good question. Are there any databases that are excluded from SuperSearch by default, or is it inclusive of everything in the drop-down database? It basically includes any database that has a search engine attached to it. So if I go here into database, SuperSearch, you'll see all the databases, which, if I'm not mistaken, includes about 40 or 50 of them. But you'll get the majority of your information directly through here, as long as the database can be searched by either a part number or a NIN number. So that's how the super search works. So if you wanted to go directly into the super search, and again, if you wanted to say plug in, say like a NIN, like 5198144, and you wanted to see how many times your NIN exists within all databases, again, there's that multiple database search results for this NIN. It lets you know how many times your NIN exists within all those databases. So you get the FLIS, next hire assembly list, contracting, FedMall, government forecasts, supplier inventory, governmental branches, and even suppliers. Let me do a quick reset. So we've done searches based on the part number, NIN, NSN, item name, cage code. You can do based on a vendor name, federal supply class code, or item name code. But there are far more options that you can include. Like for instance, do you want to make sure that you're dealing with parts that are active and supported? There's your reference number category variation codes. Do you want to pull a comprehensive parts list on a weapons or systems integration? You can do that here. You could pull specific keywords or specifications based on procurement item descriptions. You could put in individual sources supply codes or individual acquisition advice codes. If you're dealing with government data, you can put in Navy COG codes, SMIC codes, Army AMCC, or Air Force MMAC codes. You can add as much as you'd like to narrow the parts list that you're looking for. Let's do a search based on a weapon system. I like to do this one because this pulls a comprehensive parts list based on a weapon system. So let's say that I want to, let me think about this. I've got a couple of different ones. I usually do the F-22 Raptor because we're all familiar with that. I also like to do the Minuteman III missile, but let's do the F-22. That one's always a popular one. So let's say I want a comprehensive parts list of all information on the F-22 Raptor. Okay, so I type in F-22, F-25. Yes, I know something everyone doesn't. I'm just kidding. Although I think the newest one, what's the newest one? The F-47? Yeah, we wouldn't have any information. Not yet. In any case, so kind of like the cage code, but if I put in F-22 here and I run the search, it fails. No valid search criteria. Why? Because F-22 is not a valid weapon systems designation code. How do we find that WSDC? Go here and do a keyword search. Do the exact same thing. Type in F-22, run the search, and you can see here, there are 5 different identifiers. Now, these are the different components that go along with it. You can see 2 are for the engines, management control data, weapon systems designation code, then 1 for the aircraft, 1 for the Raptor air dominance fighter, and then 1 for the weapon system. When you're doing this weapon system, you could select up to 3 at once. Now, the reason why we limit it to that, because some of these weapon systems, like if I do the Minuteman III missile, I know for a fact one of the weapon systems designation codes has over 300,000 parts affiliated with that. So you do get quite the extensive list. But for this, let's just say I want the weapon Raptor air dominance fighter. Let's do the weapon system and the engine affiliated with that. And what this is going to do, it's going to take those 3 codes, and if I select continue, it is going to apply it into the search. So we can see here, get the weapon systems designation, and let's run a quick search and let's see all available information that is affiliated with that. So we can see here that we came up with 79,000 different parts. So when we're looking at it, these are all publicly available information on parts available for the F-22 Raptor. Now, this is where I usually get a question like, Tim, this is great. So this is including classified material too, right? No, it does not. All information in Haystack is publicly available. Information can be sourced from almost any public domain site. So there is no classified materials within Haystack. If you are trying to find classified materials, you'll typically have to go directly to the manufacturer, the vendor, the procurer, what have you, provide your level of classifications, and they may release it to you. It looks like we had a question come in, BFA. We're running into issues with finding specific parts. We're needing to research. Perhaps they are discoverable in Haystack in best case scenario. Whoa. I hate it when this happens. It just randomly pops up. Perhaps they're discoverable in Haystack in best case scenario. For example, we are looking for the access. This is a 5-axis machining center. BFA, is this an electronic component or is this more structural and material? Just looking at it, I mean, you can base it off like an item name or a technical characteristic search, which is what we're going to cover next. But you should be aware that in Haystack, when you're dealing with the parts in Haystack, primarily the data in the parts in Haystack is going to be based on structural and material parts. And it's going to be more on the government side of things. Now, that's not to say that electronic components aren't available within Haystack. but that's not the primary focus. If you are trying to pull up electronic components, parts intelligence is going to be far superior to that. But I mean, depending on how you're trying to do searches, there are ways to do it. Technical characteristics, which I'm going to talk about next after we do this breakdown, we'll kind of get into that a little bit more. So, returning back to the search. So what we did is we pulled. It's a complete machine. Not sure if that helps. You're talking like a complete assembly. You'll have to do like an assembly search and pull up parts. What I'm showcasing for you right now is individual part searches. If you're trying to pull like a comprehensive parts list based on a weapon, a systems designation, an assembly list, this is what I'm going through right now. So if you're talking about a complete machine is usually consists of hundreds, if not thousands, of different components affiliated with it. So what I'm doing now is actually showcasing you how to do that. Because what I did here is I did a weapon systems designation search. If I go back to search, I included these weapon systems designations are basically a comprehensive parts list of all information. There are other ways to do it based on higher assembly list, which I believe is a supplemental database. You can base it on federal supply class codes, federal item name code directions. You can base it on several different kinds of searches. But what I'm showcasing you right now is the primary way how you would find comprehensive parts list on weapons, systems, assemblies, what have you. So let's talk about narrowing down that 70,000, 80,000 different parts. So let's say that, I have those 80,000 parts, and that's great, but I don't need all 80,000 parts. I need something specific from that specific weapon systems designation. Well, let's say I need a specific type of component. Well, let's just say I need an O-ring. Well, if I go ahead and type that in, again, you're going to see all the different types of items that are affiliated. You can see the O-ring here. Let's go ahead and scroll down and add that to our search. This is basically entering in not just keyword searches, but combination searches. The more information you put in, the better odds you're going to narrow down and get exactly what you're looking for. You can see that we went from almost 80,000 different parts to just under 10,000. Pretty good cut, but let's go ahead and narrow this down even further. Let's say I want active and only parts. I'll go back to search. Remember how we find active and supported parts? We have a reference number, category code, variation code. How do we find that out? We do a 3-2 combination. 9 times out of 10, a 3-2 combination means the part will be active and supported. Down, rerun that search. You can see we're down now to 595 different parts. We go back to search again, go down to the very bottom. There is another trick as well where you can pull the primary stock number, basically selecting this item at the bottom. It groups items by, and essentially consolidates, removes duplicates. We rerun that search again. And now we have a comprehensive parts list of the primary parts that are O-rings, that are active and supported, that are affiliated with the F-22 Raptors designation codes that I imported. So this is a much more manageable list. The reason why you want to enter in as much information as possible, because if you're trying to extract by running a tailor-made report, if you're trying to export, say, like 100,000 parts, the limitations of exporting from Haystack are not within Haystack. They're in the file that you're writing to. And sometimes some of these parts can have tens, if not dozens, if not hundreds of secondary references, which each one of those references would be considered its own individual line item. So what could be 100,000 parts could turn into millions of line items within the file you're writing to, and it could be too much for it to handle. Again, that's a Windows limitation, not a Haystack limitation. I'll cover that more in tomorrow's segment when we talk about reports. But are there any questions on how I got to this? How I basically started with a broad spectrum search on a particular weapon system, and then I narrowed down based on a specific component I'm looking for, being active and supported, and being primaried. I don't see any other questions. Let me make sure I didn't skip anything. Okay, I know we got about 10 minutes left. Don't worry, the last things we're going to talk about are our technical characteristics. So let's do a quick reset. Reset is your friend. Again, it's designed to reset all of those so that way you don't have to clear them out individually. But we have our 2 different technical characteristic searches down here. We have our freeform search and we have a drill down search. Now, both of these are great searches to use. They both have their merits. They both have their drawbacks. And I'm going to go into details about both of them, starting with the freeform search. Now, what's the merits of the freeform search? It's easy. You can freely enter in up to 4 different characteristic keywords based on what you are researching. Let's say that I'm looking for a particular type of part, okay? Let's say I'm looking for a machine bolt. So I type in machine bolt. These are the different types of machine bolts. I'm just going to ignore because I want to see anything and everything. We run that quick search down here at the bottom, and we can see that we came up with 98,000 different machine bolts. Under item name, you can see all those different machine bolts. Okay, great. But I'm looking for a very specific type of machine bolt. Rather than exporting all 100,000 and narrowing it down in Excel, let's do that in Haystack first. That way, when I do run the report, it'll be all the easier. So let's go back to search, and let's do a free-form search. So let's add in our characteristic keywords. Now, these characterizations can be anything as broad spectrum as material. They could be more specific to items. They could be very specifically identifiable items. And you want these keywords to be present. Let's start with, say, material. Let's say I want my machine bolt to be made of steel. Now, you're going to see it's going to come up with a list of any and all steels. If you're looking for something specific, yes, you can select it. Like, let's say AISA 303. If I want that, yeah, I can add that. But if I just want any kind of affiliations with steel, just simply ignore it. Since we're talking with a machine bolt, let's talk about having a specific head style. Let's say if I wanted to have, whoops, I almost typed in machine bolt. Let's just say if I want a double hexagon head style, okay? So that's a little bit more specific, a little bit more tailored. Let's say if I want to put in something very specific. Let's say if I need my machine bolt to meet certain stress requirements. Well, how do we look at stress requirements? Well, we can look at an item like thread count per inch. Well, let's say I want a minimum thread count of inch of 18. Now, if we're looking at 18, that's kind of a relatively fine because it's actually really close together. So let's put in, let's double up on that and say, let's put in a thread series designator of UNF, which is representation of a fine thread. So we started off with something very basic, very broad spectrum, something a little bit more specific, and then the last two here are actually very specific to our needs. So we run that search. What it's doing is it's re-querying that original 100,000 parts, which is like 98,000 and some change, and it's adding in our four characteristic keywords. Try saying that 5 times fast, or 5 times in a row for that matter. But now we're down to 44 different parts. How do we confirm that our characteristics are being applied? Let's go here to T for technical characteristics. And if we wanted to confirm, we look closely. Head style, double hexagon is being applied. Go down here, thread quantity per inch of 18, material, steel, thread series designator, UNF. All 4 of these are being applied, so we know that this is included. So if I go back to results and if I wanted to run a report, I know for a fact that these are active. These are the parts that I'm looking for because all 4 characteristic keywords are applied. Now, that was the freeform search. I said the merits behind this are quick and easy, freely entering up to 4. What's the drawbacks? Well, the drawback to this is these keywords have to match exactly. If it's off by even 1 character, 1 decimal place, or 1 identifier, those parts will not be included. That's where the drill down search comes into play. Now, the drill down search does have an initial drawback. What's that drawback? It's a little bit more labor intensive. It requires you to go and do a little bit more work. But the benefits to this is it's going to be far more accurate because what the drill down search does is it allows you to ask those technical characteristic questions and see all the values behind each characteristic value, characteristic question. That way you can pick and choose the individual values you're looking for. So let's say for the criteria, I want to do dimensional. How is that possible? If so, are they standard or metric? Will accept both. Steven, yes, it does accept both. And if you're going to do dimensions, I would highly suggest you doing the drill down search over the freeform search. And I'm going to showcase why here in just a moment. So good question. So let's say for this one, last time we did a machine bolt. For this one, let's say we're looking for sheet metal. This would be a good one for using dimensional, for using dimensions. So I go ahead and enter sheet metal. We run a search. Okay, so we can see here for sheet metal, we came up with 13,000 different results. All right, so let's narrow this down. So we're going to go back to search here in the upper right-hand corner. We're going to go down to drill down here at the bottom. By selecting drill down, this is going to bring us into a completely new window. You're going to see that there are 4,400 unique NINs tied to the item name keyword of sheet metal. And there are 102 different technical characteristic questions that we can ask and pull in our specific values that we're looking for. So let's start off with something basic. Let's just say I'm looking for, let's start again with material. I want my sheet metal to be made with specific material. Go ahead and run that search. It narrows down that question list from 103 to 2. These are the 2 questions surrounding material. You have material, material document, and classification. We go ahead and select MATT for material. We go ahead and select. And we have 332 different materials. Now, this is important. And Stephen, this is going to be important to pay attention. Let's say, for example, I wanted I put in aluminum alloy or aluminum alloy 2024 in my freeform search, okay? If I put in aluminum alloy 2024, I would get these 435 parts. But there are other vendors and suppliers that also put in additional details like aluminum alloy 2024 and aluminum alloy 2024 1230. If I did not have these included within the freeform search, these 94 parts would have been excluded from the freeform search, i.e., so these could be parts that I would have been interested in. But the freeform search would have skipped it because, again, it is a keyword search and the keyword has to match exactly. This is where the drill down search shines. So let's say if I want to look up all aluminum alloy, okay? I type in aluminum alloy as our filtered keyword. We have 110 different ones. Now, if I want all aluminum alloy, you just check it all. Another thing to be aware of, whatever is currently displayed, if you add it to the search, only that. So if I say I want all, so I want all 110, but I only have the 15 shown, only these 15 will be added. I've been bitten by this one before. So make sure you go down here to the bottom. If you wanted to add all of them, just say show 200 parts per page, go all the way down, add those in. Now you can go ahead and say show all 110. Now all 110 are being exposed and added. Go down to the bottom and say add to search. And look at that. We just basically cut that list in half. We went from 4,400 ins down to 1,900. Rinse and repeat. Go through the same thing. Let's say we want this next one to be about dimensions. Okay, well, how do we look at dimensions? Height, width, length, thickness, what have you. Let's use length as an example. Okay, so I go ahead and type in length, filter down the question. These are the 3 questions about length. This is from first center line, length, and perforation elongation length. I go with the simpler of the 3, go ahead and select. These are the lengths that are available. Now, let's say that I want, say, 144 inches, okay? Well, let's just put in a keyword of, say, 144. And you can see here, there is both metric and imperial standard. You have 144 inches maximum, 144 inches nominal, feet nominal, inches nominal, and millimeters nominal. Let's say if I wanted 144 inches nominal. Well, there are several different suppliers, vendors, manufacturers that list it in 3 different categories with 1, 2, and 3 decimal places. Well, this is important to understand because if I were to just put in 144 inches nominal with 1 decimal plate, I'd only get 19 parts, and it would skip out on these 142 other parts, 143, excuse me. So let's go ahead and add these 3 in, add to search. Now we're down to 162 nins. Let's do one final question. Let's do something really specific. Let's say I want my sheet metal to be made with, have a specific treatment, a heat treatment. So I type in heat. There it is right there. We have our heat treatment listed right there. We go ahead and select out of the remaining 160 nins. These are the remaining values that are left. So if I'm looking for something very specific, let's say if I'm looking for T81 solution heat treatment, there it is right there down at the bottom. We select, add it to the search, and now we're down to 8 different nins. Now we've narrowed it down to something very specific, utilizing our specific keywords through the drill down search that we are looking for. Down to the bottom, say view results. We can see here 8 different parts. How do we confirm that the characteristics are being applied? These are a little shortcut option right here. T for technical characteristics. This pulls up that information. 144 inches nominal, T81 solution, and aluminum alloy. All of those are being applied, so we have quick access to all of them. Are there any questions on those characteristic searches or any questions on what we covered in today's segment for Haystack Gold, as this actually concludes all the segment that I wanted to cover? I'd like to open up to final questions. Now, for those of you with QED, as soon as this session concludes, I'm going to immediately reach out to Travis Miller. I'm going to try to get this fixed. I do apologize that you're receiving that forbidden, but now that we know what's causing it, we're going to immediately start working with it. We're going to unblock that IP, and hopefully we can get you up and running by the end of the day. So I will start that process immediately. If there are any point of contacts or primaries with QED in the session, I'd like you to go ahead and send me an email just so I can follow up with you. So at accuristech.com. Come on, work with me here. Teams is giving me grief. I also suffer from fat finger syndrome, so it happens. But are there any final questions? Again, for those at QED, we'll try to get you up and running. I do apologize you couldn't follow along. We do offer these trainings every month. So if you'd like to take this training again, go to our Accurist Customer Academy listed right here. You can sign up, register. We are going to host this again. We host them every month. If you ever need additional Will the next session cover whole machines? No, the next session, tomorrow's session, is all about reporting capabilities. What today's session is showcasing you how to do searches based on specific characteristics, identifiers, keywords. But whole machine searches like assembly lists, that was included in today's. So it's basically showcasing you how you can pull a comprehensive parts list on a weapon, on a system, on a machine through various keyword searches. So that was in today's class. But BFA, if you'd like me to go into more detail, send me an email. I can do a more one-on-one with you if you'd like. So no other questions, comments, concerns? I know we went about 2 minutes over. That's actually pretty good considering we had our 10 minutes of technical difficulties at the beginning, so that's pretty good. And I do apologize for the speed and length. I was trying to keep pace while being respectful of everyone's time. So for that, I apologize. All right. Well, I will send everyone a couple of follow-up emails, some tips and tricks, some how-to guides. You'll get a copy of this PowerPoint presentation as well as my contact information. Don't hesitate to reach out to me if you need any assistance. I'll be more than happy to provide assistance where needed. I do appreciate everyone joining. I look forward to working with everyone tomorrow. Again, tomorrow is all about reporting capabilities, extraction. Now that you know and you know the data, how to search for it, how can you get it into a file format of your choosing through various reporting. But again, thank you everyone for joining. Have a great rest of your day, and I look forward to working with you tomorrow.